Susie, and my topic for my speech is on abortion, and my major claim is that abortion has a positive effect on our future rather than a negative. And the two main points I'm going to make throughout my speech is that women who are denied abortions put their futures at risk, and my second main point is that without abortion, there will be more children living in poverty or other difficult circumstances. And just because women are denied to have an abortion doesn't mean that that's really going to stop them from actually getting an abortion, because they could just simply drive to another state where abortion is allowed, or they could get on a plane and go to another country. But there are many women who are denied abortions, and so they usually resort to harmful or illegal procedures. And a study in Poland has found that underground abortions found to generate $95 million annually. And according to government data between 1994 and 2006, an average of 300 abortions per year were performed. And findings from researchers indicated that to this day, 99% of abortions take place outside of hospitals. And underground abortions have also been proven to be unsafe and not a proper medical way to go through the procedure. And according to a new report published by Kenyan Ministry of Health, keeping abortions underground has led to an incredible rate of complications, putting a strain on an already overburdened healthcare system. And in 2012, almost 120,000 Kenyan women, or more than a third of all women who underwent this procedure, experienced complications. And the vast majority of these complications, the researchers found, followed unsafe abortions. And out of all these 120,000 women, 77% of them suffered severe or moderately severe complications that were due to abortion. And this shows that a lot of women don't have the freedom or opportunity to actually go to a safe hospital and get an abortion. And not only to women around the world, but abortion plays a big effect on us and our generation today, because teenage mothers are most likely to drop out of school, and the dropout rates among pregnant teens is 90% across the U.S. And about 70% of all students who drop out of school early do so because of teen pregnancy. And this keeps many young women from pursuing their education, such as going on to college or even just finishing high school. And most women who are forced to give birth will have to raise children they cannot financially or physically support. In 2009, 85% of all abortions were performed on unmarried women. And the statistic shows that women are getting abortions just because they don't want the child, but it's mostly women who are unmarried and they don't really have a husband or anyone else to support them. And 3/4 of women who choose to have an abortion give a reason that they cannot afford a child. And overall, the abortion rate decreased 8% between 2000 and 2008, but abortion increased 18% among poor women, while decreasing 28% among higher income women. So this shows that a lot of wealthy people are choosing not to have abortions anymore, and women that are actually getting abortions are getting it because they understand that they can't support a child. And on to my second main point is that without abortion, there will be more children living in poverty or other difficult circumstances. And because if abortion wasn't allowed, a lot of women will just give birth to a child and end up sending it to an orphanage. And according to UNICEF, there is an average of 153 million orphans around the world. And in the U.S. alone, there's 400,540 children living without permanent families in the foster care system. And this is data that exists today even when abortion allows. So if abortion weren't allowed in the U.S., these statistics would be even more severe and harsh. And actually, the number of children waiting to be adopted exceeds the number of adoptions annually. And statistics show that each year 27,000 youth age out of foster care without the emotional and financial support necessary to succeed. And 40% have been homeless or couch surfed, 60% of young men have been convicted of a crime, and only 48% were employed. 50% of all youth who aged out were involved in substance use, and 17% of the females were pregnant. So many people have an ideal image of adoption and see adoption as a positive alternative to abortion. But according to these statistics, that's not always the case, because there's not enough people out there to adopt all these kids. And although abortion is depicted very negatively, as even seen as an act of murder sometimes, I hope you are able to see that abortion does have many positive outcomes and should always be given an option.
All right, Susie, the proposition is identified and there's a preview of the supporting points, although I could barely hear it. You're going to have to learn to project your voice a little bit more, especially with the competing noise that we have coming from outside. You're going to have to pay attention to the environment in which you're communicating, because if people can't hear you, you might as well not be speaking. I do think that you have a lot of data that you're stringing together. In fact, in the last minute, I got 6 statistics in 30 seconds, not a single source citation on those things, and it just feels like a data dump here. So you need to develop your argument a little bit more. I do think that you have a cogent argument about the impact of abortion from a financial perspective, but it's just being presented with a series of numbers instead of any explanation that is easy to follow. I got a whole bunch of data, for instance, about what's going on in Kenya on the first point, and I'm wondering how significant, how applicable that is to the medical conditions that are going on in other parts of the world. We've got 300 abortions that we're talking about in Poland and 160,000 or so in Kenya, of which 120,000 women had some kind of problem as a consequence of the abortion. But I didn't get a comparable number in Poland. If we had 300 abortions in Poland, was there a number that talked about what percentage? Was it 77%, just like in Kenya, that had some negative complication? So you've got some information there, but it needs to be put together a little bit more coherently. Like I said, on the second point where the financial issue comes into play, you've got a whole bunch of data that talks about what people identify as their reason for having the abortion. There's some statistics about being unmarried. It seems to be an equivocation that being unmarried means that you're financially unable. I thought that that was the opposite of the world today. I thought that women are generally making more money than men nowadays in entry-level jobs. So and this whole idea of independence, I thought that that's what's going on here, that's not a crutch anymore. If there's an inadequate amount of revenue for women to maintain a family, that you need to quantify in some way, shape, or form, not just because they're unmarried, but because they don't have the resources. For example, the fact that they're probably early in their lives, 18 to 20, 25 years old, means that their income levels are going to be lower. And that those income levels, for instance, because they're entry-level jobs, that's why they have a problem doing that. The fact that they're unmarried seems like it's, just a sexist excuse as opposed to an economic excuse. There's way too much reading in the presentation, so you're going to have to get over that too. All right, thank you.